Welcome, guys. Welcome to Three Count Commentaries. I guess, you know, hopefully you guys had a good weekend. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the Royal Rumble. So today, we only really got one subject to talk about, and that is the precarious journey of Mike Tyson and all of the various scandals that have been involved with Mike Tyson. You guys can certainly, we'll be talking about the Royal Rumble a little bit later if we have time, but I want to talk about this because much like Vince McMahon, Mike Tyson is being sued under this whole Survivors Act thing in New York. He's being sued for $5 million. But this isn't, of course, the first or the second time Mike Tyson has been accused of assault or battery or anything of that sort against women. Each time, it's been a long history for Mike Tyson. So we're going to go through that. I'm not going to read any articles, but I did take copious notes on various issues that involve Mike Tyson. So we're just kind of going to go through that. And then after we get done with that, that should probably take us about 20 minutes, depending on how much of it we do. And the rest of that time, maybe about the next hour or so, we could do some Royal Rumble chatter. And maybe if you guys watch these press conferences or whatever, y'all could tell me what was said there. I don't watch them and I have no interest in them. So, I mean, it is what it is. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about Mike Tyson. So, Mike Tyson was accused by an anonymous accuser of sexual assault and violent rape from 1990. So the story goes that Mike Tyson apparently went to a club called September's, and that after September's rather, Mike Tyson invited a young lady to go to another club with him or to another after party. She got into the limousine where Mike Tyson started immediately kissing on her and touching her, which ended, of course, in a violent rape. This was supposedly took place in Albany, New York. The woman, of course, didn't specify which date it was, so we don't even have a date for the alleged assault. But apparently, it occurred in the early 90s. So I guess when she figures out when it happened, that's when we'll know. So the accuser claimed that she felt guilt, loss of self respect, shame, embarrassment, sadness, anger, depression, anxiety, violent tendencies, drug and alcohol addiction, uh, and confusion. So all of the emotions, literally all of them. She was very angry, sad, mad, everything except happy that she was assaulted by Mike Tyson. She then says that from this traumatic experience, she was unable to maintain or develop any healthy relationships with men or, quote, anyone in general, and claimed that the experience caused extreme emotional suffering, including but not limited to nightmares, panic attacks, and flashbacks. This woman claims she will also be staying anonymous to prevent harassment, further mental harm, and embarrassment. The woman's attorney claimed that he investigated. The woman's attorney claimed that he investigated the case and found her allegations, quote, highly credible. So Mike Tyson has a history of being sued and targeted for various things, usually revolving around nightclubs. This issue is, of course, ridiculous. Did it did it occur or not? Again, we don't know. We have no idea whether it actually occurred or not. But I can tell you this: when somebody runs the gamut of all of these feelings, such as guilt, loss of self-respect, shame, and embarrassment, what do you mean? You were both shame and embarrassed? Uh, hmm. Okay. You were raped, and that led to drug and alcohol addiction. This would have been 30 years ago, by the way. Drug and alcohol addiction and confusion. Okay. It had you are now unable to maintain or develop healthy relationships with men or anyone in general. All of this sounds very, put together to fish for a settlement, which is what these things are. Uh, it's very difficult for me to take these things seriously, you know, because of this Abuse Survivors Act or whatever in New York. Like I said before, it is now possible for people to uh, come up with the most insane stories, and you don't know whether they're true or not. I mean, personally, how the hell can we know whether it's true or not? 30 years ago, I was a little boy. I was a kid. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. I don't know what occurred. Mike Tyson has a history of this stuff, which makes him an easy target, especially since when he was the youngest heavyweight champion of all time, he was only 20 years old. He was, still hanging out, going to nightclubs. Mike Tyson was an admitted uh, violent felon when he was a child, during his teenage years. He admitted to various robberies, pickpocketing, things like that. I mean, this guy isn't in any way a choir boy. Mike Tyson is, a man who engages in violence. Is what he does. And because that makes him a target as a man who has a temper, a man who was divorced because his wife, Robin Givens, at the time claimed that he was involved with domestic violence. They went on TV to talk about this. I'm pretty sure most of you have seen that, where Robin Givens accused him of domestic violence on television. And Mike just kind of had to sit there and let it happen. But here's, of course, all of you, everybody watching this who, knows Mike Tyson was convicted of rape in 1992 of Desiree Washington, a 18-year-old former Miss Black America or something like that. He was found guilty and sent to an Indiana youth center on February 10th, 1992. He was sentenced to 6 years. He only did 3. Mike Tyson was 25 years old at the time. But what you might not know is that when Mike Tyson got out of prison, and around 1995, he got out of prison. In 1996, he was accused again of sexual assault and sexual battery, this time by a woman named LaDonna August. Now, you probably have never even heard of this story, but LaDonna August was a beautician from Gary, Indiana. She claimed to have met Mike Tyson in a nightclub called The Click. She claimed that Mike Tyson grabbed her breasts and genitals, and when she resisted, he bit her in the face. A manager at the club said that her story could not possibly be true because Mike Tyson was surrounded by security all evening and was not alone with that woman at all. Apparently the journalists continued to call the nightclub to get more information on, who hired the security. Apparently this manager said that the security was actually hired by the club and not by Mike Tyson. When they called back a couple of days later, a different manager would not confirm or deny that Mike Tyson was ever even in the club. So you had one manager who says, yeah, Mike was here, but he was never alone with the girl. And then they call back and another manager is kind of like, I don't know if Mike was here or not. So then things get a little bit stickier as August failed to show for the court case. A woman named Tammy Beatty, who claimed to be a friend of LaDonna August, popped up and said that Mike Tyson drank only water and was not alone with the accuser at any point in time, and that all he did, he was surrounded by security, essentially the exact same thing that the manager claimed. The manager claimed Mike Tyson was surrounded by security. He was not alone with anybody. This woman, Tammy Beatty, says, yeah, that's true. At the same time, her friend, LaDonna August, did leave and was very upset. 2 other women who were anonymous witnesses, quote unquote, claimed that LaDonna August left the building fairly upset because they feel that, quote, something happened. Why? Because they claim that a security guard approached one of the women and said, Mike Tyson wants to meet you. The woman then left with the security guard and came back 15 minutes later, hysterical, crying, and then they left the club. Now, Tammy Beatty, uh, did actually agree that her friend was upset later. Her friend was upset when they left the club. But Tammy Beatty believes that this was all about money. The police investigated the case and found it to be a baseless accusation. That's why you've probably never heard of it. Whenever you talk about Mike Tyson, he has a history of violence, and when it comes to women, we're going to talk about that a little bit more too. But you probably never heard of the LaDonna August situation because it was a baseless accusation from a woman who was trying to get money out of Mike Tyson. Now, is this the same woman who is trying to sue Mike Tyson today? I don't know. All right. But it's an interesting thing that when I looked for, just to see if Mike Tyson had ever been accused of other uh, rapes or something like that, to find out that yes, he was. But not just that. We're talking about Mike Tyson going back to the 80s, 1988, in the same nightclub. Mike Tyson was sued by a woman by the name of Lori Davis for sexual assault. That same night, another woman put a criminal case on him for battery. Mike Tyson was found guilty, and he faced a $100 fine. In 1990, a former friend or a friend of Robin Givens by the name of Phyllis Polander sued Mike Tyson for sexual assault and sexual harassment. In 1993, a woman by the name of Naomi McKenzie sued Mike Tyson for battery. In 1998, Chevelle Butts and Sherry Coles filed a $22 million lawsuit against Mike Tyson, claiming physical and verbal abuse. In 2001, Mike Tyson was accused of rape of a 50-year-old woman, not 15, a 50-year-old woman in California, but the police filed no charges. This is a history of Mike Tyson basically being a target for these kinds of things. A lot of them, as you noticed, have been lawsuits. Very few of them have, led to any kind of criminal case. Now, we know the names of some of these women because I think the rape shield laws had not been passed yet. Okay, so the rape shield laws, for those of you who are maybe not in the United States, these laws allow you to anonymously make accusations so that your name and your reputation can be protected. So a lot of these women who can accuse, especially this woman today, who can accuse Mike Tyson or Vince McMahon or you or me, they can just say, yeah, it happened, and I get to keep my anonymity. So I get to file a public document that anybody can read, but I get to keep my name off of it. That doesn't feel very fair to me, especially since in the United States you have a right to face your accusers. To then be told that your accuser gets to stay in silence and stay in the shadows, that seems to be very unfair. When it comes to all these other women who filed lawsuits and stuff like that, this stuff became public information because there were no rape shield laws in the 80s and in the early 90s. I don't remember when the rape shield laws were passed, but they are pretty much national now. And even if they weren't, the newspapers wouldn't publish the names anyway. They tend to do that when they have a horse in the race. You notice that the media don't mention race sometimes. They don't mention age sometimes. They don't mention genders sometimes. That's because they're trying to protect certain classes of people. The media does stuff like that, and it's incredibly unfair. But it is what it is. Will this woman get $5 million out of Mike Tyson? Who the hell knows? He's going to be incentivized to settle, just like they all are. Mike Tyson is a man who's trying to live his own life. He has a successful podcast now, and $5 million, she's not going to get $5 million. She may get $500,000. She might get $750,000, but it's going to be more than what she's got right now, no doubt. It just seems to me to be pretty crazy that when you allow people to open up lawsuits from 30 years in the past without any proof that these two people were even in the same place at the same time. No evidence whatsoever can possibly exist outside of stories being told that this somehow amounts to justice. All right. It's the same exact thing with Vince. I haven't, what on earth would possess these people to do stuff like this? And the only incentive is money because it's not a criminal case. There's no, it is absolutely bizarre to me that we live in a world where this guy could be accused of rapes and then people will just be like, oh, money. I want money. Give me money. You know, give me money and I'll go away. You raped me, give me money, I'll go away. It's like, oh, is that how it is? Now, there was a book that I really liked during my woke days. Because I told y'all guys I did have woke days. I had a this was my favorite book during my woke era. It was called The Assassination of the Black Male Image. This was a tremendous book. This book really opened my eyes to a lot of things. It's written by a man named Earl O'Farry Hutchinson. And this really opened my eyes on things like, feminism, things like how so many black male celebrities, for instance, are accused of sexual assault, sexual harassment, rape, stuff like that. And that is it kind of goes along with the stereotype. Earl O'Farry Hutchinson writes, quote, the myth of rapacious black male sexuality is still one of America's most enduring and deadly stereotypes. Contrary to popular view, it far predated slavery. And in the 1500s, European explorers in West Africa were fascinated with black sexual practices. One explorer called the penises of Mandingo tribesmen burthensome members. Another marveled at the large propagators. Later, Shakespeare couldn't exist, talking about those lustful darkies. The black Othello had goo-goo eyes for the white Desdemona. As such, she was always in grave danger from the gross claps of lascivious Moor of the. So, whenever this is actually what kind of turned my life around. Reading this turned my life around because I used to believe, Tupac did it, Mike Tyson did it. Because why did they get found guilty if they didn't do it? And then you realize that, sometimes people there's an image or there are other stories. Like, Mike Tyson is the best example for it. Michael Jackson is another really good example. That once somebody slips one past the goalpost, Mike Tyson paid off Michael Chandler. That happened at one time. How many times have Michael Jackson been accused of child molestation since then? It's been at least 10 or 15 times. Almost every other child that Michael Jackson came in contact with, accused him of sexually assaulting him. Usually boys. And you had a lot of stories where people will be defending Mike Tyson. I keep saying Mike Tyson because they have the same name. Michael Jackson 1 minute, only for as soon as he died, yeah, Michael Jackson molested me. Give me money. It is a ridiculous concept. It is it's ridiculous. Here is Here is another passage from Earl O'Farry Hutchinson that I think is really interesting. He says, quote, today black women make less and are treated worse than anyone else in America because of race and gender. The old adage still applies that there are two kinds of females in the country, colored women and white ladies. And the only time colored women become ladies is when they are cleaning ladies. Of course, he is trying to stand up because he's woke too, for sure. He's definitely on the left. And he actually has a book called The Myth of Black Capitalism, which I also really liked before I realized it was a bunch of horse shit. But this chapter in this book It's all about, guys, the various guys who are accused of rape and stuff like that. Mike Tyson, Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court justice, and all that kind of stuff. It was it's an interesting book, very interesting. But the Mike Tyson story, but that's how long this thing has been. This book was, I think, published in 1996. Um, Let me take a look because I'm pretty sure it was 1996 when this book was published. Uh, I still suggest people read it, even though it's woke nonsense to a degree. There is, yeah, it was 1994 or 1996. Even though it is kind of like a lot of woke nonsense in it, it's very, very interesting. But you know, Mike Tyson had made himself through his behavior, whether it be biting Holyfield, some of the more insane stuff like threatening to eat other people's children, um, threatening to murder other fighters, his violent past, his usage of drugs and alcohol. Um, it was it was scary. I think if I remember correctly, Teddy Atlas, the who used to help train Mike Tyson, he has actually accused Mike Tyson of doing something to his, I think young niece or something like that. He hates Mike Tyson. Teddy Atlas is a brilliant, brilliant man. I'm just talking like as a philosopher. Like I've sat and listened. Like I've tried to read his book. Like I haven't finished the entire book, online book, let's say, not book in my hand, but an online book. I haven't finished one in forever. But as I was reading through Teddy Atlas's book, you realize that it's not highfalutin intelligence. It's just general good advice and a guy who's lived a long time, who knows a lot, and who has good perspective on life. He hates Mike Tyson. I don't know if you guys ever watched him on Joe Rogan, but he absolutely hates Mike Tyson. And he truly believes Mike Tyson raped Desiree Washington. But he accused Mike Tyson of doing something to his niece or whatever. I wish I could look it up right now, but I just didn't think about it until now. But you have all of these cases out here, and if you Google the name Mike Tyson and rape, you'll get the Desiree Washington case. But you probably won't get all of these other ones, mainly because a lot of them were lawsuits that either fell by the wayside or were paid off by handlers or even Mike himself to go away. You know, but this makes him an easy target. You now have these people again because how can you say that something occurred? You don't even have a date for when it supposedly occurred. You would think that if something ruined your life and caused you confusion and made you incapable of, having human contact with anyone else, you would at least remember the day that your life changed. But we're not even asking these people to remember that kind of stuff anymore. You know, at least when it came to Rita Chatterton, she could remember what day it was. But then again, that wouldn't have been that difficult considering all she had to do was look up the day that the WWE was in Poughkeepsie, New York. And she could just say, oh, yep, that was the day. It was in 1986 Poughkeepsie, New York. Pretty much anybody with the internet could look it up and figure out what day it was. The issue was, how the hell do we know Vince was even there? Because as we know, stories go that Vince didn't show up to house shows. He only showed up to television, but we don't know. But that's just the kind of stuff that we have to deal with these sort of lawsuits now, where it's no holds barred, man. It's not even the fact that these cases are old. It's the fact that most of them are just completely and totally baseless and have no evidence. It'd be one thing if you say, all right, I got some, there's some kind of evidence. There's a witness, two witnesses or whatever. There's, got some ripped clothing, some stained clothing or whatever. It is insane to me that we continue to go through this and we continue to have these issues. It's like the entire justice system, and I hate to play this role because it is a victim role, but when you look at the entire justice system leaning on one side, it is ridiculous. Not only do these people get to go way back in time 30 years to file a lawsuit where you don't even remember what you were doing or where you were. This person cannot even prove you were in the place that they claimed you were. They can't even prove that you were there. But this lawsuit is somehow still valid because you said so. And then you get to be anonymous. So the person you're accusing doesn't know who the fuck you are and can't say straight up, I've never met you before in my life. I don't know who you are. And maybe even other people, which is usually the case, is that you want to keep your name out of the newspaper so a good friend or a cousin or somebody like that can't pop up and be like, yeah, that's bullshit. You know, that didn't happen. Because that's exactly what would occur. You know, your name would come out there, it'd be Charles Jackson accuses, somebody of something, and people would be like, Charles Jackson, wait a minute, let me look him up. And he got a cousin here, he got a sister there, and you talk to them and you realize, Charles is full of shit. He's just out fishing for cash. And then you write your little article saying that Charles is fishing for cash. Which is exactly what happened to LaDonna August. A case in which a woman went public saying that Mike Tyson grabbed her breasts and genitals and bit her in the face. And then one of her friends came out and was like, yeah, that didn't happen. She was upset about something or other, but I don't think he sexually assaulted her. There was security guards and everybody was around. Oh, the exact same thing. And a manager in the club said that Mike was surrounded by security the whole evening. And then, of course, most of the people listening to the sound of my voice have never heard of this. That should tell you that these kind of things come and go. Now, some of these things that are fairly easy, something like battery. Battery could be anything. If you know what the word battery is or what battery means in the legal system, battery is any kind of non-consensual touching. If you slap somebody on the shoulder and they don't want to be slapped on the shoulder, that's battery. If you push somebody, technically that's battery. You could grab their face and push them away. That's battery. You could slap somebody's wrist. That's battery. Assault is, the next level. You could punch somebody. It could be assault. You could graze somebody's thigh. That could be sexual assault. People tend to take these things because they don't really look into these cases or anything like that. They tend to take this kind of stuff in every direction. Like, there's a book called Heterophobia. It's right behind me. I don't want to turn around and get it, though, where they talk about the sexual harassment industry. And you ask the question, what does that even mean? Right? And then you start seeing how sexual harassment as a concept has grown over time. Like, it's called mission creep. You start out with something that is legitimately a bad thing. For instance, a boss going up to his secretary, quid pro quo. You come, do your thing, do something for me, I do something for you. You want that promotion, come to my office and get on your knees. Okay? Yeah, we don't want people doing stuff like that. But now today in 2023, you can get into a consensual relationship with another fully grown adult person. But because of your position, you are a predator. It's like, wait a minute. This fully grown adult person that we let vote and buy cigarettes, and you can buy a gun or get auto insurance or whatever, but you can't agree to sex? Like, what kind of weird stuff is that we live in? I will always be baffled by the concept that we let people vote and we let people buy guns, cigarettes, alcohol, and do whatever they want, but they can't agree to sex if they cannot consensually agree to sex, but they can go and vote. Under no circumstances is an adult stripped of their agency, unless you, of course, are forced, which, of course, is already illegal. But that's the mission creep of the sexual harassment industry. That now you can be guilty of sexual harassment without even directly sexually harassing the person. At this point now, especially if you go through like I don't know how many of you have gone to like orientations or something like that recently, but what they'll tell you is if you make a comment to somebody else about a woman, let's say you say, you know, uh Keisha got a big old butt. Say what? Keisha got a big old butt. You talking to your homeboy at the job. Keisha, ooh boy, Keisha thick. If somebody hear it, they can go to HR and say you sexually harassed Keisha. You never say shit to Keisha. You ain't say nothing to Keisha, but you can still get busted on a sexual harassment because you were talking about Keisha's butt, even though she wasn't even victimized because she wasn't even there. She could have been off that day. It don't even matter. That's how bad the sexual harassment, sexual assault shit can get now. You know, it's gone to the male gaze is another one. I don't like how you looked at me. That's sexual harassment. The mission creep is insane. So when you see these people and they're filing lawsuits for sexual harassment or sexual assault and all this kind of stuff, you got to think about what it could possibly have been. Neil deGrasse Tyson, the astrophysicist, he was sued, or was it? Yeah, I think he was accused of sexual assault because he touched a woman's arm to see her tattoo. That's what he did. He wanted to see her tattoos on the inside of her forearm. He took her arm and looked at it. He was accused of sexual assault and sexual harassment. A man who I guess was another physicist wore a shirt that women did not like. He used to work for NASA, and he got fired for sexual harassment because he wore a shirt that women didn't like. So I say all that to say this. It doesn't matter whether it's Mike Tyson, doesn't matter whether it's Vince McMahon, doesn't matter whether it's you or me or anyone. If you don't know what these words mean, you should not really just go off and believe these stories. I'm not saying you should completely and totally throw them out either. But what I'm saying is believe in these stories when you don't know what occurred is ridiculous. Because the only thing the headlines are going to say is Mongo Slade accused of sexual harassment, accused of sexual assault. Nobody knows what the hell I did or what I claim to have done. You're not going to be able to know the name of the person who was accusing me. I'm not even going to get to know, not for a long time anyway. And then the media is going to protect them. They're going to look for ways to, because this is what happened. Mike Tyson gets accused of $5 million lawsuit for rape. Every single article that I read, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, Bloody Elbow, all of them mentioned his rape case from 1992. None of them mentioned the false rape accusation of 1996. Not one. I had to look it up myself. So it's okay to sit around and talk about when he was accused of rape and convicted of rape in 1992, which he, of course, continues to say did not occur, but he was found guilty because he's big bag Mike Tyson and, he had abused his wife. So that makes it people believe that he would rape a woman. It's about your image and it's about your reputation. Mike Tyson did not have a good reputation. He was frightening. He was intimidating grown men in a boxing ring. Grown men who fought for a living were scared of Mike Tyson. So it's easy to believe that a woman would be scared of Mike Tyson. And then she goes into the jury and, in front of the jury and she's weeping and crying or getting emotional. And Mike Tyson sitting there with a mean mug on his face with a thick neck. They're like, yeah, he did it. For sure he did it. Can we prove it? Probably not. Was there semen somewhere? Nah, probably not. Doubt that any of that actually occurred. But it seems to me that it's ridiculous that we have to go through this. Tim Wynn, an accusation is enough to ruin a career. There is no innocent before proven guilty anymore. That's true. It's even worse than you would think because I saw somebody recently, just as recently as maybe 2 days ago, make the argument that you don't need that anymore. We don't need innocent until proven guilty socially anymore. You know, the argument being that if you heard somebody, let's say, Michael Jackson, I think that's a really good example. You heard that Michael Jackson molested young boys. Would you let Michael Jackson be around your child? Knowing that he was accused of that. My answer would be no. That's a fair, and honest response. But it wouldn't be because Michael Jackson was accused of molesting young boys. It's because I don't fucking know Michael Jackson. And I wouldn't have my children just hanging around random adults I don't know. So, and we know just in life, it doesn't matter how well you think you know somebody, people do weird shit. A lot of children get molested by uncles, stepfathers, stuff like that. Stepmothers, there's a lot of that stuff too that nobody talks about. You know, your daddy's girlfriend, your mama's boyfriend that they trust. And, it doesn't have to be that somebody has a bad reputation. You know, sometimes things are just good policy. Not having your children around weird adults is just good policy. Public school teachers, priests, probably it's a good policy not to have strangers around your kids too long. It's just it just is what it is. But my point to telling you guys that was you see how these people will so easily give up everything, you know, because it will never be them. At least they think it will never be them. I really became dogmatic on this, not when I read a book, but when it happened to my cousin. My cousin got kicked out of college, because a white girl said that he raped her. The story goes the white girl and him were posting pictures on Facebook. The white girl's daddy saw the pictures, basically questioned her about what happened, and she claimed that he had raped her. He claimed that it was his girlfriend, and they were, of course, posting relationship pictures on Facebook. The college didn't care. The college, was just kind of like, well, he got accused of rape. See you later. He got kicked out of school. You know, and he, even though there was no criminal charges, because she didn't go to the police, she just told her daddy. She got all the incentives in the world to lie to her father. She told her daddy, and he raped her. He went up to the school, got him kicked out. Now he's not gonna. My cousin didn't get arrested. There's no evidence. His story was pretty solid. We have a bunch of pictures together. Not just the pictures her daddy saw, but regular fucking pictures of them going on dates to fucking Starbucks or whatever. No reason to believe at all that this girl was raped. But they don't care. They don't ask those questions because you can't question women. That's the system. That's the system. She said it happened, therefore it happened. And even if it didn't happen, this is the path of least resistance. Because it might have happened, but we just can't prove it. So we're going to punish you anyway, even though we can't prove it. We're going to punish you anyway because it's easier to punish the boy, to shut up the parents, to shut up the activists, than it is to investigate and tell the girl, unless you got some evidence, fuck off. he didn't do anything. That's hard. To be able to look at a girl and tell her no. I mean, we just have a society that just is very difficult to tell women no. Like, that's like the great danger of our time, is that a generation, probably 4 generations of men that are deathly afraid of telling women no. Like, how insane is that? It goes back to some of us, back to our fathers, just afraid to tell women no. It's crazy. When it's literally that simple. It's literally that simple. When they want to do shit and it doesn't make sense, it doesn't fit into the itinerary, and you try to do it anyway, you're already off the reservation. You're just like the guys who are looking around saying, path of least resistance. This university is mostly female now because, again, we couldn't tell women no. So now the university is mostly women. And if this is what they want, is to kick this boy off campus, then we're going to do. We see it all the time with football players. There was a guy for I think the Houston Texans. He was in the NFL, and then they came back and popped up that he supposedly raped some girl in college. And he got kicked off the team. That he made it to the NFL, got kicked off the team because some girl claimed he raped her in college, even though it proved to not be true. Guess what? It was easier to punish him before an investigation than it would be to tell the girl to fuck off. You don't have any evidence, or this is nonsense, or at least let's investigate this and see what's going on. Let's see what's happening. No, we're deathly afraid of telling women no. We're deathly afraid of disappointing women. How dare you? How could you? And this is how you get like Greta Thunberg, 20-year-old, well, she was 13 at the time when she started this, popping up in front of the United Nations, crying about climate change and all this kind of stuff because nobody has the balls to tell a teenage girl to shut up. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're a child. Go play video games or snowboard or something. Go do something else with your time. For Christ's sake, that would mean telling a woman no, even though she would be a young woman at the time. It's the spoiling of these women. Again, I said this before, every woman is not your mama and is not your daughter. It's literally that simple. Stop going into these situations thinking all of these women are either your mom or your daughter. They're not. Some of them are your bratty big sister who just wants what she wants, and she doesn't care about the consequences, and she doesn't care about anybody else. She's selfish and manipulative, and she's a bitch. I had a friend lost his daughter for a year because his BM claimed that he ran her over with his car. I think I told that story before. It was on video that he did not. Thankfully for him, they exchanged the baby, I think, in a Home Depot parking lot, and it just happened to be like a security camera up there. But it took him forever to get the footage. So he lost a year of his relationship with his daughter because she lied. And then she walked around on crutches, claiming he ran over her little toe, her pinky toe. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And CPS all up his ass with a fine-tooth comb, all in his closets, turning over his comforters. Did he have roaches in his house? All kind of silly shit. It literally costs them nothing to accuse you of stuff, but it costs you everything to fight back. So that's why most people just they get that learned helplessness. They just take it on the chin and go on about their day. Like, okay, whatever, So many guys do lose custody of their children, contact with their children because of that situation. My friend spent money out of his own pockets. He had to go live with his parents because he spent that much money fighting that case because his daughter meant that much to him. But there are some people who just don't have that fire. They don't got that passion. They got that learned helplessness. They just kind of say, man, what can I do? I don't know what to do. And they just throw their hands up and walk away. But it's all a part of the same system. You can't tell women no. You can't demand that a woman provide evidence of something that she claimed to have occurred. Oh, you got ran over. All right. Where's your x-ray that shows me that your foot got crushed? You know, where did you have a security camera? Where was you standing when this happened? She just showed up on crutches with her foot wrapped, and that was it. She could have did that at home. She didn't need. You didn't get like a doctor's note or anything. You can go buy H bandages from the goddamn CVS and tie your foot up. But that's not how the system works. The system does not assume that two equal parties are coming into a situation and the judge is going to be the non-biased arbiter of what's going to happen here. No, the judge is usually already trained in feminist theory about, male power imbalances and domestic violence and relationships and all this kind of crap. So they're more prone to believe in it. She shed some crocodile tears, and all of a sudden you lost your kid. Which a lot of this stuff leads to like male suicide and all these kinds of things. And that's kind of where I think about this kind of stuff. I think I said this about Vince. Like, what do you want this guy to do? You want him to kill himself? Like, he's lucky that he's got so much money that he can pay to have these things go away. The average Joe, you get accused of rape or sexual assault, and you don't have any money. Oh my God, it's over for you, bro. There were stories of a lot of female girls in high school doing this to boys, and the boy would just go kill himself. Socially, he's dead. He's got nothing. He's not going to have any friends anymore. In fact, somebody might try to kick his ass because that proxy violence is a real thing with women too, and that's all this crap is anyway. That proxy violence is a real thing. She starts telling other people that you did stuff to her, that even if it's not true, and they're going to act on her behalf. That's proxy violence. Women do this shit all the time. That's that calling CPS, calling the police, using the court systems for lawsuits, this kind of stuff. Just, I'm mad at you. I can't beat your ass, but I know what I can do. I can ruin your life. I can fuck you up by saying that you raped me, that you sexually assaulted me, that you abused me, whatever it takes. The Amber Heard situation when she got in front of the judge, Johnny Depp is the one with like missing body parts. Like, you see video of her acting up, and the courts couldn't just throw that shit out and say, you know what? I'm looking at this. I'm not seeing any violence on his end. Maybe he's a dickhead, but she is admitting verbally to being violent. And people are just kind of like through one ear and out the other. Now, he won that case, but for Christ's sake, how many millions of dollars did he waste to win that one case? Could you or I have those kind of resources? No. Why isn't there simple fucking common sense? If we're going to have a society where women are essentially the property of the state, and you need the state's permission to have sex or have children or do anything to look at a woman, they shouldn't be able to vote, buy guns, buy alcohol, go to school, get a loan, buy a house, or anything that involves agency. If she can't control her own fucking pussy that's on her body, why on earth are we allowing her to control any other lever of society? But you can't ask that question either. You're a misogynist if you say that. Even though it's common fucking sense, because we apply it to children. A child, a 9-year-old, can't consent to sex. We also don't let them buy alcohol. We don't let them buy guns. We don't let them get cars. We don't let them do anything. So it's not outside of the realm of possibility. Is a woman an adult, or is she a fucking child? Because if she's a child, she shouldn't be voting. She shouldn't go out and buy a gun. She shouldn't be in the bar from the beginning. But if she can be in the bar, if she can go buy a gun, if she can go vote, then she can be fucked, no matter what her age is, if that's what she wants to do. And then you can't regret it later, and then that becomes rape. No. Oh, he lied to me about what he does for a living. So what? You wearing 6 tons of makeup. You are genetically a different person at this point. You're wearing so much makeup. You have fake boob jobs. You've got BBLs. That's not even your real hair. It's ridiculous. All I'm saying is, I guess I'm a true feminist. I think men should be able to do everything a woman can do, and a woman can do anything a man can do except get pregnant. I just want women to be held to the same standards. Get rid of these fucking rape shield laws. Make her put her name and reputation on the line. I should be able to Google a chick who lied about a rape. Oh, this bitch lied about a rape. It should be public fucking knowledge that she lied. It should be public knowledge that she had a case on somebody and it went away due to lack of evidence, due to her admitting that it was a lie later on, or whatever the case may be. But they get extra special. Now, if you want to say for children, again, children, you want to keep a child's name out of the newspaper? Okay. Especially if it was a child that was a victim of sexual assault. Okay. But if you're an adult and you're claiming another adult sexually assaulted you and you're going to go to the newspaper, guess what? You're volunteering to be a public person. We should be able to Google you. It's nonsense, bro. It's nonsense. It's horseshit. And that shit is very frustrating. It's very frustrating because I know how horrible it is. You know, I've been thankful, very thankful, that it hasn't happened to me. You know, I've never been accused of anything stupid. You know, but it's all about, have you crossed the wrong person yet? And for a lot of people, that's really all it is. If you ain't crossed the wrong person yet, then you're good. But there's plenty of vindictive people out there, especially if you're rich. Christ's sake, being rich, it's like being Superman almost. Like there's the idea that Superman, because everything around him is so gentle that he has learned how to turn a doorknob without tearing the whole door off the frame. It takes a great deal of control of his strength. That's like being wealthy in society, because if you have money and you do have legitimate power over other people, you got gardeners and people working your pool and all that kind of stuff. You have to basically tiptoe around these people. Otherwise, they're running to the goddamn newspapers yelling about you doing something to them, or you're verbally assaulting them, or you're propositioning them for sex, or you're looking at them inappropriately. I want money. That's the curse of being rich. The curse of being rich is that you never have consensual sex anymore. It never happens again because you're rich and wealthy. So every woman who ever had sex with you is essentially a victim. That's the story that you're told and you don't even know it. That's what they're getting you to believe without you knowing it. It's that arsenic that they're putting in your Kool-Aid. Every rich, powerful man has ever had sex with a woman who isn't also rich and apparently 50 years old or whatever is a rape victim because it's my power dynamics. You see, but my power dynamics. Then there's no such thing as consensual sex at that point. There's no point. There's no such thing. Bill Gates cannot have consensual sex with any woman. Not that any woman would want to fuck him, but he can't. He got too much money and too much power. That means that no woman can be. He runs entire organizations, multi-million-dollar organizations. He owns vast amounts of farmland. He cannot have sex with a woman without it being essentially rape. My power dynamics, you see. It's like, just because he's wealthy doesn't mean he has to be a fucking monk now. It's ridiculous. But a lot of people, they go along and they say, look, it doesn't happen to a guy like me. It's like, no, because you're like, Greg the office boy, Nobody's going to try to sue you for $5 million. If anything, they'll try to throw your punk ass in jail, but that's about it. Or they'll try to, take your kids from you or something like that. But when you're, a Hollywood celebrity or a big money producer or a hedge fund manager or something like that, they're not going to go to the cops. They're going to go to the judges. They're going to go through the lawyers. That's how they're going to get you, because they're going to fish for a settlement. They're going to ask for $5 million, but they'll settle for one. They'll settle for 1.5. They'll settle for 800,000, whatever. Because asking price ain't really what it is anyway. All because we can't tell women no, and because most people are just completely conditioned to accepting the terms of their own enslavement, not really thinking about what's going on here. How many times have you seen somebody on Twitter ranting and raving about Leonardo DiCaprio banging like 22 or 23-year-old girls? Oh, he's almost 50. His girlfriend is 24. It's like, she can drive, she can buy alcohol, she can buy weed, she can buy a pistol if she wants to, she can get auto insurance, she can get a credit card. She can't take a dick. I'm sorry. Why is that all of a sudden the one thing that you are not allowed to do at 24 years old is fuck a man a lot older than you because you want to? You can go into our society will allow you to go into $100,000 in debt with no complaint. No complaint. But if you want to fuck a 44-year-old man, oh my God, it's a scandal. You sit back and just put that shit in its proper perspective. It makes no sense. It literally makes no sense. It makes literally no sense. You can go and buy enough pills to kill yourself at 24. But heavens to Betsy, a movie star wants to take you out on a date. You're not allowed to do that. Or they'll just act like he's the problem. He did it. He's doing something wrong. Like, he ain't doing shit. He ain't doing nothing. The man living his life. You just sitting around here jealous. Who the hell ever said that because she's 24, she got to date 24-year-olds? Because he's 46, he's got to date 46-year-olds. No, he don't. He can date any chick that he wants to as long as she's legal. You wouldn't complain if he was 46 and he wanted to date a 78-year-old woman. You wouldn't complain. You wouldn't say shit. You wouldn't call her a predator. My power dynamics, you see. My power dynamics. The power dynamics of like, shut the fuck up. I spent almost an hour on this. I'm sorry. AJ3, why are these women trying to ruin men's livelihood? Well, because sometimes they're bitter. Sometimes these guys really have had sex with these chicks, and the chick didn't get what she wanted out of it, or maybe she felt like pumped and dumped or whatever, and this is her way of getting revenge. Sometimes things are a misunderstanding. Maybe you thought she was feeling you, and you went in for a kiss, or you grabbed her or whatever, and you wasn't thinking too badly about it. She brushed your hand away, and you was like, oh, okay, a little embarrassed, but you move on. 30 years from now, that becomes sexual assault. And that happens literally all the time. Literally all the time. You walk up to a woman, ask her out on a date, all of a sudden it's sexual harassment. It's ridiculous. So a lot of it is just base vengefulness. She's a bitch, and that is what it is. Tim Wynn, is there really any way to safely defend yourself from a false accusation in 2023? Not really. I think that these things have gotten so ridiculous that if you could videotape your entire life, like the Truman Show, from the beginning of your day till the end. If you are somebody still says you did something, there's still going to be some asshole with a Twitter account or an Instagram or a TikTok who are going to believe it. You can't. I'll tell you another false rape accusation that blew my mind. The young lady that Kim Kardashian let out of prison Well, she didn't let her out of prison. She helped her get out of prison. I forget what the girl's name is. The girl was an underage prostitute. She was like 16 or something like that, which is already wrong. She got picked up at a 7-Eleven or something like that by a guy. He took her back to his house. He showed her around the house, and then he went to his room and went to bed. This chick found his gun in his house, blew his fucking head off while he was asleep, stole his car keys, stole his truck, stole various things from his house. She got arrested. She took all this stuff back to her pimp. She got arrested. She got she got life in prison or something like that. Kim Kardashian stumbles across this story, and it's a story of a woman who killed her rapist. It's like, wait a minute. If you look at all the court documents, not one time did it ever say that her and this guy had sex. It was he picked her up, took her back to his house, and then he went to sleep. He was asleep when she shot him. But that doesn't matter. All the court documents that says this stuff does not matter because Kim Kardashian cannot be told no. You can't look and be like, Kim, dumb bitch. Look at this. This is the court documents. This is what the girl said happened. The girl said that she never had sex with him. Well, but that was before. Now that there's an opportunity for her to get out, oh yeah, he raped me. This guy's fucking dead. He can't defend himself. His only mistake was picking up an underage prostitute that he might not have even known was underage at the time. He probably found out she was underage once he already got to the house. They'll also tell you that they support sex work, right? So that means they're okay with women going out there prostituting, which is dangerous as hell. She was sex trafficked. Okay, sure. That was so frustrating. That was an incredibly frustrating story. That poor guy got murdered in his sleep and became a rapist because it was politically convenient to get that girl out of prison. That's fucked up, but that's what your life means. It means nothing to these people. Because heavens to Betsy, somebody would have to tell a powerful woman like Kim Kardashian, no, we don't want to have to do that. What about O.J. Simpson? I think O.J. Simpson slipped through. He was just one of those niggas that slipped through the crack. I think O.J. was guilty. I think a lot of people think he was guilty, but they couldn't prove it. He had a good legal team. They couldn't really prove it. He slipped through the cracks. It happens. Sometimes these dudes really do. I mean, rapists really exist. So it's not like it's out of the ordinary that a guy is accused of rape and he didn't do it. Or that he actually did do it. Sometimes there's some evidence that he actually did do it. But a lot of this stuff is Law and Order SVU, where it's, well, we can't prove it, but we'll find some backdoor way of getting him to admit to something else, or we'll find something else to railroad him on. It's like Al Capone. We can't get him on rape, we'll get him on tax evasion or something stupid like that. So it was ridiculous. O.J. Simpson did win in court, but he lost the civil case. So the civil cases, by the way, almost always have lower standards, which is why often that's where they go for the civil laws. That's one of the reasons why they go for civil cases, is because civil cases have lower standards. Now it's preponderance of the evidence, if I remember correctly. Which means that if you believe that it's more likely to have occurred than not, then you can say that it happened. But who's to say, that's real? That's nonsense. AJ3, America is tailor-made to protect white women, not black women, because they don't get protection. But white women, America will kill for them. You must not pay much attention to what's going on in the United States when it comes to protecting black women. I'm telling you, most of these dudes are in prison over black women. I'm telling you. It's real shit. I used to work hand in hand with the Detroit police. All they do literally all day is manage uh goddamn domestic violence, which sometimes is real, sometimes it's not. There are situations, I don't, it was numerous situations where the girl went and got a restraining order on the guy because he's stalking her, whatever that means. But they used to live in the same house or whatever the case may be. Their boyfriend and girlfriend, husband and wife, whatever. They get into an argument. She runs to get a PPO. Turns around, 2, 3 days later. Oh, I miss him. I love him. She lets him back in the house. They fucking or whatever. 2 days later, they get into another argument. She calls the cops. Hey, he's violating his protection order. Cops show up. They got to arrest him. They can't not arrest him. They have to arrest him. So they do. That kind of shit happens literally all the time. The fact that she let him in don't matter. The fact that she didn't go and take the protection order down. So even if she invites him into the house, he still has to go to jail for violating his protection order. Can't tell women no. Can't look at it, this situation. I'll never forget, even the female police officer who was telling the story said that, we shouldn't have to do this kind of stuff. She admitted that she let him in the house. We should be able to say, you admitted that you wanted him back into this house. We shouldn't have to arrest him because now you're angry at him again. You can't keep turning on and turning off PPOs. That's not how that works. But you can't tell a woman no. Even other women can't tell women no. Black or white or Asian or anything. That shit doesn't even matter. The idea, now you can say throughout history, white women got a little bit more protection because, they weren't the slave class. But we're beyond that now. We're way beyond that now. How many white boys have had their lives ruined because black women said that they were raped by them? There's been a couple throughout, especially within my lifetime. It tends to happen more the other way, though. I will say that it tends to be a lot of black football players, black basketball players getting railroaded by white bitches. It happens a lot, It happens a lot more than it probably should. If people were, pretty honest with themselves, and that's why my dad told me never to date white women. He was pretty open and honest about that. He made me paranoid and anxious around white people. But I had to get over that all the time. Can you talk about the unfairness and bias of the child support laws? Well, it's exactly the same shit. It's exactly the same thing because a lot of times what she will lie about is to get child support. Like that's a fucked up system though. Child support is real bad. It's real bad because it's based a lot on your income, but it doesn't really adjust. Like what you see with like a lot of rappers and ball players and stuff like that is they'll have their child support or whatever adjusted to their highest, however much money they made when they were at their peak. And then when they're not at their peak anymore, they're not making that kind of money anymore. The child support doesn't change. So it could be like crazy $10,000 a month or some shit, which might not be too bad if you're in the NBA or in the NFL and you're making tons of money. But when you're on the tail end of your career and your child is only like 9, you still got to pay child support. And it's still going to be $10,000 a month. But now you're out of the league. And you're trying to get that adjusted, and she's going to fight it. She's going to be like, nope. It happens to rappers and shit all the time. Like child support, again, not being able to tell a woman no. You can't look at a situation realistically and say, yeah, this dude's not playing football anymore. We can't force him to pay $10,000 a month. That's ridiculous. We can't do that. Nobody can afford that. It's ridiculous to even arrest people for not being able to pay child support. It's dumb. It's a self-defeating prophecy. Like literally, we're gonna arrest you. We're gonna make it so that you cannot pay child support by throwing you in prison. That's in the best interest of the child. Instead of saying, what can you pay? If you can't pay $5,000 a month or whatever, what can you pay? Or setting it to a percentage of your income. And some guys will be assholes and they'll quit their job because they have to pay 20% or whatever to their baby mama. I understand. I understand that system where, guys will try to buck the system and go around it, or, they'll quit their job and start working under the table, that kind of shit. I know. But ultimately, for starters, the whole thing with child support is they should be a DNA test to prove that you're the father of that child. Too many of these situations now, especially in the legal system, not a justice system, it's a legal system. If you admit that, if you say that you're the father of that child, you sign the birth certificate. You're responsible for that child, even if you turn out to not be the biological father of that child. And sometimes, in some cases, in some states, and whatever, if you turn out to not be the biological father, you can sue for paid child support. That doesn't mean she has to pay it, though. You know, sometimes it's happened several times that a woman has been sued for lying about rape or lying about the father of her child. She'll just not pay. She's not going to go to prison. If you refuse to pay, you're probably going to go to jail. But they're not going to put her in prison, you know, because she's a woman. You can't tell women no. Uh, I, all this being said, I've ranted for like an hour on women. I don't hate women. I just think that the system is built to benefit them. But when you understand uh, society and what the purpose of society is, like the purpose of society is to allow for the protection and the growth of women and children. That's what when you go to war, right? And throughout history, that's why women never went to war. That's why children didn't go to war. Your city, your village, or whatever, the purpose of which was to protect your women and children. So America is just a complex version of a village. Everything that they've put together is to protect women and children. But at some point, the line became blurred and women became children. Where every woman you ever come across is your sister or your daughter, your mom or your daughter, one or the other. Either she's a little old lady who needs protection, or she's your dainty little princess who needs protection. Even when she's a vicious viper in her own right. Again, it's pretty weird that Cardi B went on TV, mentioned that how she raped, well, not raped, drugged and robbed men. And everybody kind of looked at that and was like, ha, 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 how silly is she? But everybody threw a fit over a Rick Ross lyric about slipping a Mickey in a chick's drink and she ain't know it. Everybody lost their mind. It's crazy, but it's double standards. What can you say? Eileen Hankerson, if anyone's being accused of rape, convicted or not, is pretty much done. Your life is fucked in basically every way. Yep. That and child molestation, it doesn't matter whether it occurred or not. It doesn't matter if anybody can even prove it or not. If you get accused of child molestation, it's over. If you get accused of rape, it's over. Just call it a day. You can't beat the case. Because even if you literally beat the case, people don't care. That's what happened with R. Kelly, right? R. Kelly beat the case, didn't go away. Now, look, R. Kelly is a very special case because R. Kelly literally did marry an underage girl. But the accusations of what R. Kelly supposedly had done with the other underage girl, it didn't go away because he beat the case. The fact that he was even accused continues. Michael Jackson beat the case, but the whole Michael Chandler thing still didn't go away. O.J. Simpson beat the case. It doesn't go away. Again, I just talked about Mike Tyson. He got accused in 1996 of raping a chick. That thing didn't really go away. It's still out there. People choose not to talk about it because it's evidence that sometimes these people are lying and they just want money. So they won't talk about it. But you can beat the case. That doesn't mean it's going to go away. Kobe Bryant beat the case. But in Kobe's case, not only did he beat the case, but it also went away. So, very few people remember that Kobe Bryant was accused of rape. Very few people talk about that. Because when Kobe died, he became Saint Kobe. You know, He became the patron saint of in the NBA. Tim Wynn says my pussy has gone crazy. Yeah, it's got a mind of its own. Uh, Ellie Hankerson, to a woman, rape is one night sex session that she didn't like too much. Yeah, she didn't get what she wanted, So she wanted a long term relationship. You wanted to just skeet for the evening. Now all of a sudden it became a rape case. You know, vindictive. It's stupid. You know, it's dumb. And no question that you ask these people about it will change their perception. You ask these people, why did Rita Chatterton wait 6 years to accuse Vince McMahon of rape? Well, there's 100 different reasons why she wouldn't have done that. Like, it's common fucking sense. If you were brutally raped in a limousine, why would you wait 6 years to say something? And then the first time you say something, it's not in a court of law. It's on fucking Geraldo. I mean, they turn off their brain cells because they want to believe. They don't want to be a bad person. They think that questioning women makes you a bad person. They can't tell women no. It's a problem. You're spineless. You don't even have to do that much. You don't have to do anything at all except use your critical thinking. Is it possible it happened? Yes. Is it likely to have happened? No. I'm perfectly fine being wrong. If you could provide some evidence that Vince McMahon brutally raped Rita Chatterton in a limousine in 1986, then bring it on out. I'll be wrong. It doesn't cost me nothing to be right or wrong. I'm not really all that involved in the case. Morally, I'm going to stand up for everybody's rights. She has a right to make an accusation if something really did occur. He has a right to defend himself, but that's not what people want either. They don't want him to defend himself. So if he wanted to take her to court, well, he's just being a bully because, again, power dynamics, he got so much money. And it's like, okay, so if he fought the case, he's wrong. If he just pays her off and she goes away, that's wrong too. So what was he supposed to do? So it's the same thing with like Mike Tyson. Like, what are you supposed to do? You pay the woman and she goes away, done and done. Or you take her to court and then you have your lawyer cross-examine her, and then you're going to be the bully with all that money, and you're bullying this beautiful young lady. She didn't do nothing, but she wants justice for you raping her. It's like, you can't defend yourself, but you can't also just say, get out of here, I don't care. What more do you want? What do you want exactly? There is no answer to this question. But whatever the woman wants is what, the simps want. If she wants you to tap dance on your nose, you better do it. It's like, no, come on. Common sense will tell you that it's bullshit and to drop this situation. WG Phil says, I'll tell a bitch to fuck off and not fight it, to be honest. You don't really have much of a choice. Once you're in the legal system, you only got two options. Either you got three. You got settle, and the settlement is not an admission of guilt, but it is a get the fuck out of my face. You can fight it, take it to court, and that's a win or lose situation. If you running the risk, if you lose, then you were convicted or a jury found you to have more likely to have done it than not. Or you could try to provide some kind of counter evidence and get them to drop it. Matt Riddle was able to do that. He was able to argue successfully, and Candy Cartwright ended up dropping the case, even though his lawyer wasn't, the sharpest tool in the shed. There's just too many questions when it came to the Candy Cartwright situation. You would think that highly intelligent people, and I say Bixenspan is a smart guy. He really is. He's not a fucking idiot. And that's really what makes me frustrated with him. Because he's smart, and he's diligent. Like, he does his research. He will go and get these fucking documents if he needs to. But then he reads them and shits out the dumbest conclusions. Or he will use the documents to just further the accusation forward. Whenever somebody said they was raped in a vehicle, and then there's other people in the vehicle, You should already say, all right, come on. You were raped with three other people in the truck. Well, the van, I'm sorry. Well, they were asleep. The driver was asleep too. What kind of quiet rape was this? Well, you can't say that because you can't tell a woman no. He wants to be on the right side of history and all that jazz. Come on. Vixen's fan, you got this fucking stuff, man. He still has a hard on for Matt Riddle. It's stupid. It's just plain stupid, but you can't tell women no. You're not allowed. You know? You're a mean old misogynist. Top dog. There will be a generation of young people real soon that will rebel against this nonsense. You would think so, but every generation of boys and men who watch their adult boys and men kowtow to this thing, the worse off it'll be. Charlemagne the God. I saw a clip of this. It was ridiculous. That what's that young girl name? She made that song "Play Us." Coily Ray. I think she was on the Breakfast Club, and she did something for the camera where she stood up for the camera and like pulled up her top or whatever. She was twerking or something like that. And Charlemagne the guy looked away and looked towards the wall because of how much older he is than her. Not because she's underage or anything like that, because she's clearly like old enough to vote, buy a gun, and all that kind of stuff. But he didn't want to seem creepy. She is literally getting up to perform in front of this camera, but he's not allowed to look. He's virtue signaling, of course. Because if she was going to throw him some pussy, he would certainly take it. But he wanted to make sure it was on camera that people didn't see him looking. Because how dare he in his 40s be looking at this young girl? It's like, come on. That's gross. To me, you going out of your way to not look at a young girl is very gross. And plus, Charlemagne the God is a weirdo anyway. He said he's going to suck another man's dick. He's a weirdo. He's a weird guy. Very weird guy. But no, because a lot of these guys, man, they grow up listening to Kendrick Lamar and all the weirdo shit that he says and he supports, they're going to end up believing it and supporting it too. Just like, the guys who grew up listening to, 50 Cent and all that kind of shit grew up, and, the Jeezy generation, Gucci Man generation, they grew up doing that shit. These cupcake boys will too. They're going to keep kowtowing. And you would think a base generation is going to come through eventually, but, we'll see. Centoya Brown. Yep, that was the name of the chick who Kim Kardashian got out of prison. What's up? Happy Sunday. What's up, Charlie Span? How you doing, man? Top dog. Do you think the Bloodline story is better than a lot of stuff from the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression era? Absolutely. Without question. Like I said, it's the best storyline that they've had, like single storyline, probably since Austin and McMahon. It's literally been that good. And Austin and McMahon had, twists and turns and character stuff. Because Austin and McMahon, the umbrella of Austin and McMahon also had like Rock and Mankind. It had the whole union stuff. It had all of the, Ken Shamrock and Big Boss Man and all these guys. All that stuff was under there. The Bloodline is similar, where the Bloodline you have, but it's also a lot more contained because there's not a lot of like stray members of the Bloodline. There was too many members of the corporation and all that kind of stuff. The Bloodline is a tighter story because it's essentially 6 characters: Heyman, Roman, the Usos, Solo, and Sammy. But then you also have Kevin Owens is coming in there because Kevin Owens comes with Sammy. They have a relationship, going way back, way back. So you're looking at the complexity of this story. A lot of it is how those 6 characters relate to each other. What's Sammy's relationship with Jay? What's his relationship with Jimmy? What's his relationship with Heyman? What's his relationship with Roman? He has a different relationship with each one. Roman has a different relationship with everybody. So it makes the story a lot more complicated because it's compact. I'm telling you, it's legit like one of the best things they've done in a long time. The child support system is fucked, especially international. Yes, I've heard that it's really bad in other countries. Like I've heard that in France, you can't even DNA test your child. You can't. Legally, you cannot DNA test a child in France. I don't know if that's true or not. I just heard about it. And that tells me that, they're worried about some stuff. I've heard like Jamaica is really fucked up too when it comes to child support and stuff like that. Ali Hankerson, people really be abusing the meaning of the most terrible crime one can admit, arguably worse than murder. Look, there's an excuse for murder. There's no excuse for rape. There's no excuse ever for child molestation or rape. There's plenty of excuses for murder. I can think of 100 reasons to kill a motherfucker. And sometimes you'll kill a motherfucker, and I can say I don't blame you for killing a motherfucker. You know, so I don't really trip on the whole murder thing. Sometimes murder it's the only option that they gave you. But there's no ever any reason to rape anybody or molest a child. It's just you can't do it by accident. There's no amount of drugs or alcohol that'll make you do it. It's just it makes no. Those those are the two things that if they were to occur, that had to be somewhat conscious. Especially if um I'm not gonna go too far into that, but yeah, murder is again, you could kill somebody by accident. You could kill somebody and then feel like, okay, maybe it was unnecessary that you killed them. I get that. But rape, come on. There's no such thing as accidental rape. There, or no shit like that. If you rape somebody, you did it intentionally, you did it on purpose. AJ3, did you get to see the video of Kanye West confronting the paparazzi and illustrating how he doesn't get paid for their invasion of his privacy? Is he talking about when Kanye grabbed that woman's phone and threw it? Because that's happening a lot lately. I think a lot of celebrities are getting tired of people just jumping in their face with phones and shit, and they're just kind of like sick of it. But you still kind of can't do it. You still kind of can't do it. WG feel women don't want equality. No, they don't. They want superiority. They just don't want to say that. WG feel well, she raped in deception when she had an old vid saying she set threesomes with the transformer. Oh God. JS, the rumor itself ruins your reputation. It sucks. Michael Jackson was also not guilty. Yeah, Michael Jackson was not guilty. He was never found to have even possessed child porn. Again, Michael Jackson was under federal investigation for like 10 years. Like off and on for like 10 years. They tore up, his ranch numerous times looking for child porn. All they found was like somewhat suggestive art books. They never found any child porn. And that kind of stuff, it was awful because he paid off a child one time because his lawyers told him to. And that's really all it was. His lawyer said, this is blocking you from making $50 million. So pay him 20 million and go away. And he, like a fool, he did it because he wasn't thinking about that. He's listening to people that he trusts. He's listening to his advisors. That's what rich people do. They have tons of advisors. They're focused on their craft or whatever it is they're trying to do. They're not thinking about the PR of this or how it looks to other people or anything like that. They just kind of and sometimes they think that this stuff is going to go away. But you can't give a kid $20 million because he accused you of molestation and then you just go away. That's not going to go away. That's too much money. That's way too much money. Way too much. Even now that the audio is out about Michael Chandler's father setting that whole thing up, people still believe Michael Jackson did it. So no amount of evidence that you can bring out once you've been accused will clear your name. AJ3 says, I saw the clip of Frankie Kazarian on Keeping It 100 talking about gotcha culture generations, X and boomers and millennials, and how society itself has crumbled. What are your thoughts? Well, I listened to that clip too. Kids, it seems that Kazarian was coming across as kind of based, but what I did like, I loved his his statement about what he said about having a personal relationship with your music, that you physically touched it, you would read the liner notes, you would, all that kind of stuff, learn the lyrics and all, learn who the drummer is and everything. I thought that was very good. As far as the culture, um, culture war stuff, I mean, I pretty much agree with a lot of that. I wouldn't. He's not that much older than the rest of us. I think he's like 40, mid 40s. So he's probably around. I don't know. Uh, and saw how the locker room has changed and all that kind of stuff. So I think he had a good point. He had a good depth in that joint. Yeah, people do forget that Vince actually sued Rita Chatterton first because she went on TV and made that comment. But then, of course, he was bleeding money because of lawsuits, with the Ring Boy scandal and with the steroid trial, so he dropped it. But that's again one of those things that kind of fell through the wayside through this whole thing. Very few people will mention that Vince sued Rita Chatterton, because it didn't go all the way through. If he didn't fight it to the end, um, you know, it's the same thing with Ashley Massaro, right? Ashley Massaro wrote that story about um, being raped at a tribute to the troops or whatever, and it was part of a packet for a concussion lawsuit. It was obviously written with the intention of let's get a settlement, but it didn't work. And then WWE comes out later, their lawyers are saying that Ashley Massaro essentially called them or sent them a letter or whatever saying that she apologized for it. But it doesn't matter to the average person because the average person just going to be confronted with Ashley. This is what Ashley Massaro said. They don't understand that the lawyer was a shyster and a scam artist. We went through this when I went through the concussion lawsuit, right? Konstantin Kairos, he's a scumbag and a fucking liar and a terrible attorney. But he found a fucking gold mine when it came to Ashley Massaro claiming she was raped by a military guy at a tribute to the troops. Because that story will never go away. It will never go away. And now it's up on a blog site or something like that. And anytime somebody even mentions WWE and rape or whatever, that thing pops up. Doesn't matter that they also have a counter statement to that. Doesn't matter that Ashley Massaro provided zero evidence that it occurred. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. It's unfortunate that she's dead. Whatever. Yeah, Candy Cartwright with the sleeping driver. The driver was asleep while he was, perfectly driving everybody and didn't get into a car accident or anything like that. And she got raped very quietly in the back seat. It's stupid. Top Dog. What generation do you think ruined society more? I think it, and both have helped the cause of destruction to society, Boomers or Generation X. Well, it's a collection because the Boomers started it. Boomers planted the seed. Generation X watered it. So, and the new generation is just doing nothing but bearing the fruit. The Boomers are the ones who started saying that you can fuck your secretaries. It's like, okay, well, you want to quid pro quo. All right, you want to say that's illegal. You can't fuck for a job. You can't fuck for a promotion or a bonus, and you shouldn't dangle sex over people's heads in the employment. Okay, but you are also an adult, and if you want to have sex with somebody, you should be able to if you want. Whether that person's the president, CEO, or the janitor, if you want to. And of course, that thing doesn't work the opposite way. If she's the vice president of talent relations or whatever the fuck for Citigroup, and she's banging an office boy, she's not fired from her job, or not her life isn't ruined. That's the shit that really blows my mind is how they create these rules, but then they also have these caveats where the rules don't apply to certain people. Yeah, no generation is based. They all suck. Um, WG Phil says, will you revive Avatar: The Last Airbender and compare Roman and Azula's rise to power to their downfall. That means I would have to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender all the way through again, which I don't have a problem with because I loved Avatar. I just don't know if I have time. And it'd take forever to get through Avatar. It's a pretty lengthy show. It's fantastic, but it's pretty lengthy. Azula is a monster though, man. Azula's a motherfucker. Like she's something else. You know, I think it's fair to say she's kind of the Roman Reigns of that universe. But uh, mm, because the only other person you could compare him to was Ozai. But I think Azula is a little bit more manipulative. She's also more of a character. Ozai is essentially just he's not really that well fleshed out through Avatar. At least I think he might have been fleshed out more in comics, but I never really got into the comic books. Uh, let's see. Top Dog says, to be fair, the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression Era wasn't about the type of stories the Bloodline story is about. It was about shock TV. Yeah. Um, that's true. There's a lot more dramatic storytelling today. That's the big difference, I think. The Attitude Era, there was still a lot of drama. There was still a lot of comedy. But I think that they found the Attitude Era is where they found the formula that works. Like Sami Zayn is Roman's Mick Foley. You know, he's the guy. Like Mick Foley did a lot to get The Rock over. Not just physically, but also in terms of character. Mick Foley made The Rock seem cool because he was so corny and he was so weird and he was so weird looking and so freakish looking that he made The Rock look handsome and tall and rich and everything that you would want to be. So Mankind kind of fawning over The Rock the way that he did in the Rock and Sock connection. That made The Rock seem a lot cooler than he really was. And then The Rock, of course, had to soften up, become babyface. So it was still good storytelling back then, but it wasn't like today. Back then there was a lot of more comedy. The This Is Your Life segment, that kind of stuff. Like Sammy didn't do a This Is Your Life Roman Reigns, which might have been nice if he had, but we never got that far. They were too busy having Roman manipulate Sammy, which is fine. WG Field says, I'm wondering why Sammy didn't bring up how Paul betrayed Roman last year. That's a good question, and maybe they will bring that up. But I think that was a ruse anyway, if I remember correctly. Top Dog said, WG Field, facts. People on the internet keep thinking Generation X is base. No, they're not. The Wrestling King, Tyson didn't rape no one. Look, I believe Mike Tyson put his hands on some people. I believe that. I believe he maybe smacked his wife. Maybe he started shoving some women who didn't want him. Maybe he pie-faced one. Maybe even punched one. Do I think that he, literally just running around raping bitches? No, I don't believe that at all. But I do believe that if you rejected Mike Tyson, he got physical. I believe that. I can bet Mike Tyson got very angry if you said no. But do I believe that he just, fuck that, I'm gonna rape you anyway? No, I don't know about that one, dog. AJ3, Damage Control has 7 eliminations in the Royal Rumble. So does that establish them enough as a force to be reckoned with? Well, they're the tag team champions. They should already be established as a force to be reckoned with. I guess, I'm having a hard time. Me and a lot of other people are having a hard time with Damage Control, man. I'm telling you, it's just not good enough. They probably need to add a 4th member, and something tells me that Bayley needs some help. They need to add a 4th member. I don't know who it could be, but they probably need another member of Damage Control. Somebody who could do so it wouldn't be so much on Bayley. They probably need to one of the underutilized women who might be able to cut promos that can talk probably needs to join Damage Control. Bayley needs some help. Can we get a Cena and Hogan impersonation? I don't know. What would they be doing? Mongo, did you see Joe Hendry's new song about Matt Cardona? I saw clips of it. I didn't. When I watched Impact, I think I was on the first match when I was like, "Why am I watching this?" And I skipped all the way to the main event. I did want to see the main event. So I did watch the main event. I don't think I watched the Joe Hendry thing, but I watched clips of it when he was calling him Edge's bitch. That was crazy. That's just nutty, you know. So that was fun. WG Phil says so many legends who could have got a Legends deal to help with medical expenses got screwed due to that lawsuit. I'm glad Paul Orndorff was able to get a new deal before he died. Yeah, there's a lot of people who fucked themselves up with that concussion lawsuit. A lot of families too. Some of the people who were actually already dead, like Mabel. Um, I don't know, but Demolition. Oh God, it should have been in the Hall of Fame already. You know, they should be at doing the round tables and everything. Man, they should be doing so much more. They fucked themselves up so bad when that Legends contract. I mean that CTE lawsuit. They fucked it up bad. And the crazy thing is, they thought WWE was like the NFL, and that's the one thing that Kairos bet the house on. He's such a fucking moron. Wrestlers are independent contractors. They worked in tons of other places, taking chair shots to the head and power drivers and falling on concrete. You can't blame all of that on WWE. You can't. You're more likely to get away with it today than you would then. Why? Because now WWE are actually getting talent straight from like college and stuff. So these people have never worked anywhere else. So you could bring them in if they got like history of concussions and they got CTE or whatever. They probably will be able to sue WWE and say, I worked in WWE and I never worked in another wrestling organization. Now, unless they played soccer or something like that and they were bouncing the ball off their head 100 times, or they played football, which might give WWE some kind of cover. But guys who had 15-year careers in the NWA and short runs in WWE, suing WWE, it was so dumb. It was dumb because they thought it was football. Because the NFL has been a monopoly for so long. You couldn't get away from it. If you played professional football in any way, you played for the NFL. But if you were a pro wrestler, you could have worked anywhere. You could have worked in ECW, WCW, WWE, Ring of Honor, Impact, anywhere. You just wasn't going to be able to pin every single amount of all the head damage that you received on WWE. You just wasn't going to be able to do it. And Kairos just wanted the loss. He just wanted the settlement. That's all. He didn't really want to go to trial. He just wanted a settlement. And he's a settlement attorney. There's so many of them out there. They're not prepared to go to trial. They just want you to pay us to go away. That's not what he got. So sad. I think the UFC, they might have got away with it too. Similar thing. UFC, a lot of times people have to go through the amateurs, and a lot of head injuries happen in training and stuff like that too. So you might not be able to pin it all on UFC, but WWE beat that case pretty quickly, pretty easily, and the NFL couldn't. They just couldn't get away with it. It is what it is. Top Dog, thoughts on Hogan saying he can't feel his legs anymore? Well, I'm not surprised. He's had like tons of back surgeries, and he's still like 300 pounds. Like Hogan is what, 65 or something. He was 300 pounds, falling on his tailbone 300 times a night, or 300 times a week, or 300 times a week. 300 times, well, yeah, because he was taking body slams and stuff too. So yeah, maybe 300 times a week. He was 300 pounds at the time. That wear and tear on your body, it does weigh you down. Continuing to lift weights, that stuff kind of over time, I can see that the damage being real. But Hogan also lies. No, he lies. He lies a lot. He lies a lot. So Who knows? But we also don't know about his physical stuff, his physical issues. RK Bro was more similar to Rock and Sock than Sammy and Roman. People went from calling Randy Orton boring to appreciating him more. Well, it's all the same concept. It is the uncool, uh, weird looking guy. Riddle is a little bit less like Sammy and Foley because Riddle looks like a guy who'd be cool on his own. Foley and Sammy are not really, you know, it's aesthetically pleasing. Let's put it like that. But the general idea is that the big cool guy has a little buddy, and his little buddy is somebody he wouldn't normally be hanging around, and he wouldn't normally be friends with. But because little buddy constantly looks up to him, he starts to warm up. Like a mankind would constantly act like him and The Rock are partners or friends, while you know The Rock would say we're not friends, we're not partners, we're not, and eventually they do become friends and partners and stuff. It's like Roman for a long time didn't acknowledge Sammy as a member of the bloodline. He was saying he was a member of the bloodline, and Roman was just kind of like, what is this guy doing? You know? But over time, he started to warm up to it. Top Dog, we will ever see Randy Orton have one last good run before he hangs it up. I think if Randy Orton ever comes back, we're going to be built into his retirement because he's been gone a long time. And he's also had a lifelong run in with injuries. I mean, he's had tons of injuries in his career. I think this is the longest he's ever been out, outside of, I think, a neck injury. So I think we're near the end for Randy anyway. I think if he should have his last match against John Cena, and they should end it with Cena taking his career. And I think that would be a fitting end for Randy Orton. Hopefully, he can actually get it done, though. I would bring him back on a limited basis. Either that or Cody ends his career. I know Cody's his friend. I think that might be interesting too, especially since Cody would have won the title by then, probably. You could have Cody and Randy in their last two matches, and you could build it off of legacy, and maybe it's Cody's turn to take the legacy mantle and run with it. But I think Randy wanted to keep going. I remember he did the Smoking Skull sessions. He wanted to keep going until he was 50 or something like that, but I don't think he's going to make it that far. I don't think he's going to make it that far. Doing RKOs have, destroyed his body. AJ3, what about Damage Control added someone from NXT or the Performance Center into their group who can be the Roman Reigns, but with personality and charisma? Well, the mission statement of Damage Control is people who have been overlooked by management or whatever. So you would have to think about who has been overlooked in NXT, who could have been doing more, but maybe they were not released, but maybe they were they didn't really break through. Only option I think you got is Indy Hartwell, and my answer to that one is new. I forget the name of Indy Hartwell's partner, the girl who got fired. She popped up, I think, in Impact recently, so I don't think she's even available. But then again, it's Impact, and their contracts are written on napkins, so who knows? Top Dog, do you think WWE should have Austin Theory retire John Cena when they face him? No. Theory's not ready. He's not ready. This is going to be his first WrestleMania, too. He's not ready. Well, second, because I think he was at WrestleMania last year. He's not ready. Triple H has not prepared Austin Theory for that. And that's Triple H's fault. Austin Theory should be prepared to have a match with John Cena, and he's not. AJ3, Hogan is the only one in character. Only one left in character. Well, Hogan's a fire, for fuck's sake. Top Dog, I personally think Braun Breaker, when he's ready, should retire John Cena to pass the torch to him. I want to see him on the main roster first. Let's get him on the main roster first. See how people respond to him. Leith LZ have Randy versus Bray for his last match. They need to fix the two matches they had at WrestleMania. I don't think anybody wants these two people to be in the same ring again. They can't fix that. They just have a bad legacy working together. Hogan is the only one left that's still in character, and we don't know who Terry Bollea is. I think we know who Terry Bollea is. Cena would destroy Theory on the mic. Well, that and he will definitely overpower him in terms of character because Theory doesn't really have much of a character. Triple H just put him in a jacket and just go out there and mock Cena, keep saying the champ is here. I mean, why not do what Miz did? That's my question. Like, have Austin Theory challenge John Cena to a match, and John Cena doesn't respond. Maybe even right after maybe after the tag match or before the tag match or whatever. Tell Austin Theory, say, John Cena, I'm challenging you to a match next week. Cena doesn't show up. Austin Theory says, Cena's scared of me. Austin Theory 1, John Cena 0. I'm going to give you a rematch in 2 weeks. Cena still doesn't show up. Austin Theory challenges John Cena to show up in the Royal Rumble. John Cena does not show up. He challenges John Cena to a match at the Elimination Chamber or something like that. He doesn't show up. And then maybe a month or so outside of WrestleMania, Cena finally shows up. And that would be monstrous, But instead, they just got him yelling the champ is here. It's dumb. it's silly. JS, some people brought up LA Knight versus Cena. Okay. How is that going to go? LA Knight's going to lose again. It'll be fun, especially on the microphone. It'll be fun. But Cena should definitely win that match. Why would LA Knight win? LA Knight's older than Cena, if I remember correctly. Cena's like in his mid-40s. I think LA Knight's already. Wait a minute. I think they're about the same age, ain't they? Leith LZ, will you ever do a video showing the books in your library or DVDs in your collection? Yes. I will eventually. I just took 3 bags of textbooks out of my damn room. I still had textbooks from 10 years ago in my closet. I'm putting that stuff in boxes and putting them in the shed. I just did that today. I wasted over an hour doing that shit. I still got comics and manga and shit all over the place. I was supposed to clean this room up this week, and I didn't. I had to go to Staples, man. I had to get a slim case. That's literally all I did all weekend. But no, I went shopping for clothes and stuff. But it just didn't get done. I'll work on it tomorrow. When it's decent in here, I'll probably do a video showing like my library. Top Dog, what about Cena versus Edge? Edge retires Cena to close out the feud. Well, Edge is older than Cena. I would have Cena retire Edge. I agree they should probably have one more match though. I think that's fine. Oh yeah, so LA Knight is just a little bit younger than Cena. AJ3, too bad. Beth Phoenix should have replaced Michelle McCool. Well, we could. Why can't we have both? Why can't Beth Phoenix have replaced, I don't know, Nikki Cross? If Beth Phoenix would have came out there late while Rhea Ripley had been in there since number 1, I think people would have been like, oh shit, she about to fuck Rhea's whole thing up. And maybe Beth Phoenix should have been the last person. But Liv Morgan being last was fitting and it made sense. Who should face Steve Austin at WrestleMania? Who says Steve Austin should even have a match at WrestleMania? Maybe we shouldn't have a Steve Austin match at WrestleMania. Maybe Steve Austin shouldn't be taking bumps. It's probably not a good idea. JS says she should have replaced B-Fab or Dana Brooke. If she replaced Dana Brooke, she would have came in third, which would have been fine. But I would have liked to build it up and make people because you already shown Beth Phoenix earlier, so we already know she in the building. So maybe having that sword dangling over Rhea Ripley's head would have been interesting, and then having it drop later in the match when Rhea is tired, only for Rhea to escape anyway would have been really good storytelling. That was a huge miss, not putting Beth Phoenix in the Royal Rumble. It was a huge miss. God, what the fuck? What were you thinking? Why would you even show Beth Phoenix if she wasn't going to be on the show? Like, why? Um, Leith LZ, what movies or books are you interested in seeing or reading this year? I have been meaning to order the Jay Dilla book, Dilla Time. I still haven't ordered it. I'm gonna do it right after this. I'm just gonna push the button on Amazon and pre-order it and have it sent to my crib. So that book, I want to read that. Uh, I am. I've heard about the movie, the TV show is like Mayor of Kingstown. I think I want to watch that. I also kind of want to start Yellowstone. I want to read. I want to watch The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray, which was a Samuel L. Jackson TV show. I got really kind of fell off on anime and stuff, even though I still read manga. That's kind of how, like I said, I got so much backlog on my manga and comics that I really don't have time to watch TV. Like I'm still carving through. My problem is that I buy shit in bulk. So like when I bought Attack on Titan, I bought like 4 volumes, you know. So now I've read 3 of them, but I've bought 4 more volumes since then. So now I got 4 volumes of Attack on Titan sitting over there. I got more volumes on order, and I got 3 volumes read. I'm never going to get through that shit. I got the first 6 volumes of Battle Angel Alita. I've read the first 4. I just finished the 7th volume of Fist of the North Star. It's fucking good. All right. That shit is fucking good. I got a new volume of Record of Ragnarok. Also a Momo the Blood Taker. So slowly but surely, and I've been trying to read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I've been trying to read that book too because I wanted to read. I never read it. Like occasionally, I want to read like Wizard of Oz or Narnia or something like that. So this year, because I read Wizard of Oz last year, and the year before that, I read Chronicles of Narnia. I wanted to read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. So I went and found the book at a bookstore, and I've been somewhat chewing through it. But most of the time, I spend time reading various giant volumes of comic books. Like I'm still reading Kick Ass. I'm on the last volume of Kick Ass, the last volume of the Dave Liszewski years, but I'm behind on pretty much everything. you know, I'm behind on everything. That's why I say I want to do a digging into Kick Ass, a digging into Battle Angel Alita. Um, but that stuff's not going to happen anytime soon. That's just being honest. It's not going to happen anytime soon. Uh, but I was thankful I was able to get what's the name done, Afro Samurai. I'm still reading the Marvel Masterworks for Black Panther too, so I'm still reading through stuff. I got tons of shit. Top Dog says I wouldn't have anyone go against Stone Cold because of the new star beat Stone Cold. They're going to get booed and hated on by the Attitude Era fans that still left. Yeah, and if Steve Austin beats them, then he just hopped off his couch and beat a young boy again. You know what you could do if you really wanted to? Tag team match. Make somebody Steve Austin's partner, and they can get Austin can get a stunner. He can get the pin, but the young boy had to help him. That would be fine. Somewhat like Sting. AJ3, Chelsea Green should be a jobber to the stars like Kurt Hawkins was. I never understood why Triple H started pushing people who need elevation instead of bringing back bums. Win the draft again. I think the draft's going to be after WrestleMania. Now, I don't want to just say that Chelsea Green should be a jobber. Chelsea Green, to my knowledge, has never really had a run in WWE. She was in NXT. She wasn't really utilized. She got injured in her very first match on SmackDown. And then she got released shortly there. Well, she got injured again, but she came back, and then she got released. So she never really got a chance to do anything. You know, my thing is, let's give her a chance to do stuff first, and then you sort her based off that. Apparently, they're trying to do this character with her, where she's a complainer, and they're calling it a Karen character, which I don't know. I don't know what that means. But she seems like she's just going to complain about how she was eliminated from the Royal Rumble, and she was yelling about putting cases on people. Apparently, she just likes being the crazy bitch, and that's what the character is going to be. She's going to be a crazy complainer. If that's what she's going to go with, then yeah, she's going to end up being a jobber. Top dog. I wonder why WWE didn't have Cora Jade or Toxic Attraction in the Rumble. You would think that's what they would have put in there. I knew they were going to put Zoe Stark ass in there. I knew it. I just fucking knew it. You know. um, I think Cora Jade would have been a good one. But I think if you'd have played that Toxic Attraction thing, people would have thought it was going to be Mandy. So maybe that's why they didn't do it. It should have been Mandy. But I don't think she got the call. Let's see, Top Dog. Speaking of Toxic Attraction, do you think they should add a third member? I feel Cora Jade could be in the group to add a rocker vibe to it. I had an idea. So I told y'all I watched like the Marky D 123 videos, and he did a video series on the beautiful people. And I just say like, oh, Toxic Attraction. You know, they ripped off the beautiful people. Sure. My thing, but they did a storyline within the beautiful people where Angelina Love left TNA. I think she had visa issues, so she left, and they replaced her. And the storyline is when she eventually came back, she, was angry about being replaced, and she then, of course, started feuding with the beautiful people. And I was thinking like that would work in the Toxic Attraction. If they were to replace Mandy with somebody, it would have to be somebody similar, let's say. And, this new person was their new best friend and all this kind of stuff. And out of nowhere, Mandy just reappears. Like, you guys didn't help me. You guys didn't care about me. You just replaced me, whatever. And she started feuding with them. Like, that could be cool. That could be a cool little angle. But at the same time, people kind of want Toxic Attraction together. I don't think Tiffany Stratton fits Toxic Attraction. She doesn't have the look. She's a different, classier look to that character. Cora Jade looks like she fits in Toxic Attraction, but she also looks like their little sister. So I don't know. It's she comes across like your kid sister. I don't know, man. AJ3 Zoe is Sean's favorite, but let's see what Triple H thinks about her. You think I'm telling you, Triple H and Shawn Michaels are probably simpatico on that fucking thing. Again, Triple H had Zoe Stark running the training drills when he was doing the recruitment. That was Triple H doing that because Matt Bloom was there. I don't even think Shawn was even there for that. So he loves him some Zoe Stark. I'm telling you, this shit is a mess. It's bad. Zoe Stark supremacy is going to be the death of us all. I can promise you that. All right. 2 hours. That's longer than I planned. Thank everybody for coming in. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Oh, wait a minute. We got one more that slipped in right before I left. And this one is actually interesting. What about that Lola Vice chick? Could she work in Toxic Attraction? Now, I only watch Level Up, and I don't watch the whole show. I just watch what I want to see. And I know who Valerie Lareda is. I've seen her clips of her on YouTube for years. She's an MMA chick. She worked for Bellator for a long time. And she had her first match on Level Up. I didn't care about seeing her first match. I wanted to see if she was going to talk. And so I went to the episode of Level Up. I skimmed through that first match. And then, lo and behold, there was a talking segment featuring Lola Vice. So I watched it and I walked away from it thinking she needs a lot more work. Her promos were very stiff, and it was a lot about how she's a Latina, she's the first ever Cuban American, no character stuff. You know, she lost her match, which isn't a big deal because she lost to like Danny Palmer, who's been like a regular on Level Up. She didn't look terrible in her match. As a member of Toxic Attraction, I don't think she fits. Um, I think they should go and in a. She wants to be sexy in terms of a character, and that's fine, you know. But I would probably try to coax her into going more in the Diamond Mine direction, where she can be sort of a physical menace, where she can use her MMA inspired stuff. I don't think that's what she wants to do. I don't think that's the character she wants to portray. But she definitely needs some work. But she hasn't. She's been doing this less than a year, so she just got signed last year. She's only been training for a couple of months. She's done literally like 6-man tags at house shows, and she needs some work. I wouldn't put her in Toxic Attraction. That's a little bit more of an established act. But my thing is, why not find a woman if you're going to replace Mandy? Find a woman who's on the main roster that's not doing anything, and have her sort of adopt Toxic Attraction. You know, um, and let that be that. If that's what you want to do and you want to replace Mandy, but I don't think you should even try to replace Mandy if we're being honest, because it's not going to. I mean, whenever you try to replace the lead singer, it doesn't really quite work out unless you're going to change the band. So if you're going to have Toxic Attraction, but you're going to change how they how they look, like change a little bit of their gimmick, then it might work for you to bring in somebody else. AJ3 says like Dana Brooke. My fucking God. Why did you read my mind? I didn't want to say that shit out of my mouth because I don't think it'll work. But that's exactly what I was thinking. Because Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke were a tag team at one point. So it would make sense for Dana Brooke to kind of slide in and be Mandy's friend who is also friends with them. But I'm like, God, oof. I don't know, man. I don't think that works. Um, Carmella is another one. If she's ever going to come back, which she might not, who knows? Carmella might be a good option, but Carmella also kind of more the Tiffany Stratton kind of character. Um, so if you wanted to replace Mandy, you're definitely going to have to put in some effort because she's not going to be easily replaced. Despite the fact that a lot of these characters, these women, they do look the same, they have similar builds or whatever. Not too many of them carried themselves like Mandy, had the confidence or the swag. And they spent time really gelling with Toxic Attraction. She doesn't have that sexiness to her. Fucking Sonya Deville wears a suit. you know, Toxic Attraction gonna start wearing suits. I don't know. Gigi might actually lose a lot of her cool points if she started wearing suits. Um, Maxine Dupree. Uh, it's different character. You know, it's hard to tell. Like who would be a good character to use. I don't know. It's not like Toxic Attraction created that look. It's just that Mandy did it so well with the leather and lace kind of thing, where she could go out there in barely anything and look great. Most other people don't go as far as Mandy. That's the thing. Like you can get people who are friendly with Mandy, like Sonya, like Dana, but they're different characters. You know, Sonya Deville is more of a business type. Again, she wears suits and that kind of thing. Why would she be hanging around chicks who are wearing like leathers and handcuffs? Why would she be hanging around them? and she's not going to dress that way. That's not how she dresses. Cora Jade would fit, but again, it would look like they're taking their 12-year-old sister around. Top Dog nailed it. Scarlett. Scarlett is perfect, but Scarlett is a different gimmick. She's doing the tarot card reading thing. But if Scarlett was doing sexy, then yeah, Scarlett would be perfect. You know, she would be the smoke show fits perfectly in Toxic Attraction. That's excellent. Yeah, that's a good one. Isla Dawn, no. Isla Dawn is doing spooky character stuff. She's along the lines of Alexa Bliss, and I'm guessing they're gonna put Liv Morgan in that camp too. But that wouldn't work, you know. I'm surprised they didn't put Alba Fire in the Royal Rumble. Probably would have been better than Dana Brooke, you know, more relevant too. All right, I was supposed to wrap this thing up 10 minutes ago. Okay, all right. Hopefully nothing else slides in that I need to feel like I need to talk about. But thank you guys. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Have a good week. Talk to you guys soon. Peace out.